My GF cheated on me and I found out while we were at a family gathering. I thought I had found my person. Every step of the way we have had this connection unlike anything I've ever felt. We both had bared it all and shared our past relationships with terrible partners. She had been abused and mistreated for years. I went in the best version of myself, completely vulnerable and open. I never had a moment where I doubted her. We decided this was it, we were going to be each other's person for good. We planned out marriage and children. She moved in with me, and as a couple, we decided to stop using BC and let whatever happens happen. She got pregnant around a month ago. We took this weekend off and made a trip to hang out with my family at my mom's lake house. Nothing could prepare me for what happened earlier today. We were sitting around with my siblings shooting and I wanted to look something up, so I asked to use her phone since mine was still in the house. A random message popped up from a male contact of hers that only said, "I miss you." I'm not one to just go prying into someone else's phone, but all things considered I felt like I'd be ignoring a big issue if I didn't. Front and center in her messages were texts from no less than 4 guys. All with texts from today, dating back months. Lots of I love yous, I miss you, I can't wait to see you again, etc. I asked her to go talk in private and confronted her about it all. She had no excuse except for I didn't sleep with any of them. Had my world turned upside down as we both had a relationship built upon the feeling that we finally found someone we could confide in and trust. I felt despite all that we've been through, I finally found someone that reciprocated my love. I told her she needed to find a way home, 5 hours from our hometown, and that regardless of what happens in the future, we wouldn't be together. She reaped what she sowed. My brother and his wife decided they would go out of their way to take her home. I contacted her mom and let her know that she's gonna get home safe and informed her of what happened. I'm numb. I really don't know where to go from here. I'm thankful I have a solid support system, but I feel like I'm in a nightmare I want to wake up from. If there's anyone reading this that's hurting like I am, I just want you to know I'm in this with you, and you'll get through this just like I know I will eventually. Edit for clarification. When I told her she needs to find a way home, I said she needs to call someone to come pick her up. It was early enough in the day for a family member to go get her, if not then obviously she would have stayed here or found a hotel. I'm grateful my brother and his wife took her home so everyone involved knows she made it safe. Story 2. My husband cheated on me with his friend's wife. I, 32F, have been married to my husband, 35M, for 13 years. This isn't the first case of infidelity in the relationship, but I do believe it may be the straw that breaks the camel's back. My husband, H, is a contractor, specifically interior remodel, and he's done really great work. He's made loads of friends and contacts throughout his time doing it. One friend, B, in particular he's worked a lot with and help each other out. B is around my husband's age and his wife, S, is my age. B and S would often invite us out to parties and barbecues, but I've always declined. You see, I don't make friends easily and I'm not keen on drinking, which B and S love to do. It was still nice of them to extend an invitation. A few years pass and they end up moving about 8 minutes by car from us thanks to a certain hurricane destroying their home. H starts going over to B and S's house to see B and talk about work. They become closer friends and drinking buddies. B sometimes comes over to our home to drink and hang out with H. At this point, I haven't actually met B's wife. I've only heard that and she has a drinking problem. B starts saying, I need to meet his wife because we've all known each other for years and she's starting to think I'm sleeping with B. What the F? Fast forward to the beginning of this year. Heavy rains hit our area hard. B and S's house floods leading to damage, mold, and a massive headache caused by the company renting the property to them. By the end of July/August they both won out. H and I noticed that a house on our street at the entrance to our subdivision has become available to rent and H tells B and S look at the house the same day, love it, and sign a lease for it the next day. H decides he is going to be friendly and help B and S move. I finally meet S as we are dropping off our trailer for them to use to move their belongings. She seems annoyed and just overall angry. She really didn't say much to anyone. My husband continues to help them move over the next 3 days until finally they're settled in. Then my husband starts hanging out and drinking with his buddy again. The second week of August, my husband's great-grandmother passes away and leave for the funeral. When we come back, B and S invite us for a barbecue. We had originally agreed, but then my work ran extremely late. I was ragged and just wanted to take a shower and sleep. H went ahead and joined them. I received a text that night that B hadn't handled his alcohol well that evening and passed out on the couch, and H would be heading home soon. A few hours pass, and it's getting close to midnight. Still no sign of H. I call and it goes to voicemail. 30 minutes later, H finally makes it home smelling completely like vodka. He apologized for taking so long. He and S got to talking, and it turned out they had a lot in common. H heads toward the shower, but before he can undress, there is a knock at the door. I answer, and it's SH hurries to the door and sits with her on the front porch. H asks if I want to join them, and me in my PJs confused as to what the hell is going on but too tired to really make sense of the red flags waving say no. She leaves rather quickly, and I ask H what that was about. He said something along the lines of she's just drunk and complaining about B. The next day, H is in a terrible mood. Then the next day, and the next. At one point, I made a kind of funny comment about how he looked like he just knocked a girl up. H is drinking more and more, spending practically every evening down in B and S's house getting drunk. I do voice my concerns, but over the rest of the month and into September, I'm met with hostility. He starts making comments about how I've let myself go or I gross him out. We do end up talking things out, and he wants to stop drinking. He says he doesn't like who he is when he drinks. September 18, after being called into work to help, I get home and H wants to spend quality time with me. He's made dinner and we're going to settle in and watch a movie together. Throughout the first 30 minutes of the movie, he's texting someone. I ask who he's smiling at, and he says he's talking to another guy friend, and they said something funny. 10 minutes later, there is banging and fast ringing of the doorbell. H answers, and it's BB says that he needs to talk to him, and then looks at me and says, "You too." We both go outside, and B and S are on our porch. B hands me S's cell phone and says, "They've been *****ing. Stunned, I briefly read the lovey text between the two, and then hand him back the phone. B storms off and S follows after him, stopping at the street. She looks back at H like she wants to say something but doesn't because my stunned self is there. She does eventually leave, and H comes to me crying, apologizing, saying he never meant for it to happen. It was one time. They were drunk. He didn't remember it. It didn't mean anything. I end up walking down the street alone to B and S's house. I ask her to confirm if it was a one-time thing. She says yes, they were both extremely drunk and it was a mistake. I then ask it. They used protection, and no, they didn't. B says he is filing for divorce and leaving in the morning. I go back home and go to bed. September 19, I wake up with a clear head. I sit H down and tell him that I want to try to work this out, but I need to understand what happened. He says he still wants to stay with me and he loves me. I tell him he can't talk to her anymore and that he needs to call and tell her as much. After hours of him saying no, he isn't going to do that, he finally does on speaker. The next week, we sit down regularly to talk about everything that happened, why it happened, what we need to do to move on. H has significantly slowed back on the heavy drinking. Mostly he seems quiet. Not super remorseful, but just like he has a lot on his mind. September 30. I finally have an easy day at work and get off early. To celebrate my victory, I stop at the gas station and pick up a small package of jerky. I arrive to the house and sit down to watch some daytime television. H blows through the door glaring at me and says, "How long have you been here?" I was confused and asked if everything was okay. If he had had a bad day at work, and his response was an aggressive, "I'm fine." He storms out to the front porch to have a cigarette. I walk up to the window worried about him and see that he's texting "can't talk now." Then I see who he's texting. My blood was boiling. I run out of the door just as he's deleting the last of the text thread and confront him. He tries to play it off like he wasn't texting her and I'm crazy. I grab his phone and call her. She picks up first ring. I say, "Hi S, this is H's wife. How long have y'all been talking since B and I found out?" She basically said they waited 3 days after and then started again. I told her thank you and hung up. Now, I'm not proud of this next part, but I chunked that package of beef jerky so hard at his head. Apparently, when enraged, my aim is on point. A yelling fight ensues and I kick H out of the house. He's crying, saying it doesn't mean anything and I'm not letting him back in. Eventually, he does leave. October 1, like 1:00 a.m. I've had hours to calm down and now a storm is rolling in. I haven't heard for H and I'm starting to get concerned. I know that he'd been drinking and I was certain that he had gone to drink more. The concern for him ending up dead in a ditch was real. I got in my car and started to head to the friend's house I thought he might be. As I'm passing the Walmart parking lot, I happen to glance by and see H's truck parked in the empty lot. Furious, I know exactly where he is. I head back to my neighborhood and pull into her driveway. I knock on the door and she answers in a towel. My heart sank. I asked her if he was there and if he was safe. S says yes. I asked if I could talk to him, and she said she would get him. She left the door open and I could hear him saying no, he doesn't want to see me. I let myself in. The master bedroom is right next to the front door. I go in and he is naked. Now, I don't completely remember everything I said or what all I did, but I do know I yelled, and but the fear of God in his eyes as he retreated to the master bathroom. At my yelling, S tried to get me to be quiet or I'd wake her kids. It was at this exact moment that I threw my first and only punch in my life. A right straight to her cheek. And then I ran. I jumped into my car, flew down the street, into my house, locked the doors and peered out the window, just waiting for flashing lights. They never came. H did instead. He wanted to talk and I did not. He was drunk, saying this was all my fault for kicking him out. More angry yelling. Him saying something about how her lady bits were better than mine before he stormed back off to her house after I refused to let him come back home. I never went to sleep. I called into work. I think I chain smoked an entire back from 2 a.m. to 8 a.m. Sometime around 10 a.m., H's mother called me to tell me his father was sick and she was trying to get a hold of him. I had to explain everything and said I'd try to reach him. His phone was no longer working, so I sent a text for her to pass along to him that his mother was trying to reach him. She left me on read. His mother called again 30 minutes later asking if I heard back from him. So I sent another text. S left me on read. Furious and determined to get their attention, I logged on to H's Facebook account and made a nice post. My father is extremely sick, and instead of calling and checking in on him, I'm cheating on my wife with tagged S's account. I had a response from them in 15 minutes. This isn't the end of it, but I really need to go to sleep. I'll try to pick this up again soon.